Welcome to episode 3 of Lightning Web Component series. In the last episode, we have seen how to set up the environment for developing the components, and in this episode, we look at what exactly is a Lightning Web Component, what are the different files that comprise it, and how to create one. So let's get started. Okay, so what is a Lightning Web Component? A Lightning Web Component is a custom HTML element with its own API. Okay, so what does that mean? Let's see. For example, if you look at an HTML anchor tag, it has an hrefs attribute which defines a hyperlink to a certain web page. Similarly, if you look at a paragraph tag, it has a style attribute which defines the color or the style in which the paragraph appears. So similarly, a Lightning web component may either define some UI or exhibit certain behavior depending on the attributes that you pass, or it may do both as well. Okay, so what are the files that comprise a Lightning Web Component? Basically, a Lightning Web Component is just a subdirectory under the force app main slash default slash LWC folder in your Salesforce DX project that you set up in VS Code. Let's say, for example, you created your project in VS Code and named it as LWC series. So under that, you'll have a folder called force app slash main slash default, and under that you'll see a folder called LWC, and under that whatever the folders you see are the Lightning Web Components. A component usually contains an HTML file, a JavaScript file, a JavaScript meta configuration file, a CSS file, or an SVG file. Of all these files, the JavaScript and JavaScript Meta XML are the required files for every Lightning Web Component that you create, and the CSS and SVG are optional files. But the HTML is required only if it's a UI component, and it's optional if it's a service component. Always make sure that you name your component in the camel case format. For example, if you look at the my component in here, it's named in a camel case format, and these camel case component folder names map to kebab case in the markup, and the files must use the same name as the component name. For example, if you look at the HTML, JavaScript, CSS, SVG, and meta configuration files, they all have the same name as the component name, so that the framework can auto-wire all these files with the component. Okay, so enough of the theory part. Let's switch our gears to do some hands-on coding. As part of the demo, let's create two components. Like, one is my parent component and a child component, and it's referenced twice in the parent component. So let's try this scenario. Also notice that the my parent component is named in camel case, and the my child component is also named in camel case format. And you can see the markup of my parent component, and it looks something like this. It has a enclosing template root tag in which there is a paragraph tag hello from parent, and there are two references of my child component. Also notice that the child component is written in kebab case, and the camel case name will be mapped to the kebab case, and it starts with C hyphen, denoting that it belongs to the default namespace. So let's work on this scenario. You might be wondering, for a simple demo on creating Lightning Web Component, we could simply create a single component and have that displayed in the Salesforce org. But why do we need to create two components? You will understand that at the end of the demo. So hold on to that why. Okay, let's create the first component, that is my parent component. So for doing that, go to the VS Code and click on Explorer, click on Open Folder, and select the project folder that you created earlier. As I mentioned earlier, so this LWC series Salesforce DX project has many subdirectories in it, and you can see force app slash main slash default, and under that you can see a folder called LWC, and this is where our Lightning Web Components are going to be created. So press Command Shift P and type sfdx colon create, and you can see create Lightning Web Component, and just click on that. It asks for the component file name. Make sure you enter a camel case name for the component. So I'm entering my parent component and pressing enter, and I'm just leaving it to default and then pressing enter. So you can see that under LWC, the first component is created and it's named as my parent comp. So it has three files: HTML, JavaScript, and meta configuration file. So let me open the HTML and JavaScript and also the meta configuration file. As discussed earlier, every UI component must have a HTML file. If you look at the HTML file, it comes with the default template root tag. You'll need to put all of your components HTML within this template root tag. And if you look at the JavaScript file of this component, you can see it created a JavaScript class, and the class is named in Pascal case, and it extends Lightning element, which is imported from the LWC module. And also this component has a JavaScript meta configuration file, which specifies whether this component is exposed in the Lightning App Builder and what's the version of this component. And going back to the HTML file, let me just type a paragraph tag that says hello from parent. And I'm saving this HTML. And now if we look at the diagram, so we just added a paragraph hello from parent, and we need to reference the child component within the parent. So first of all, we need to create another child Lightning Web component and then reference that in parent. So for doing that, let me go to VS Code and just press Command Shift P and type sfdx colon. You can see create Lightning Web Component. Just click on that. So it asks for the file name again. Just provide my child comp and just press enter. Just leave it to default and press enter. Now you can see under LWC another subdirectory is created, and it is named as my child component, and even that has an HTML file, a JavaScript file, and a JavaScript meta configuration file. Let me open the HTML file of my child component. And the child component is going to have a paragraph that says hello from child. So let me go back to VS Code and type a paragraph tag that says hello from child. So I'm saving this HTML. Since we have the child component created now, let me just add the child component reference within parent. So for doing that, let me just type c hyphen my hyphen child hyphen comp. So this is the kebab case format of the child component, and save it. And I'll also add one more reference of the child component. So again, c hyphen my hyphen child hyphen comp, and close it. Save. I'm just setting the is exposed to true on both the parent and child components. I didn't provide the targets, and then just provide targets and I'm just providing it for all the three: lightning underscore underscore homepage, target lightning app page, and target lightning record page, and then just saving it. Let me just try to deploy this parent component and child component to Salesforce org and see how it works. For doing that, let me just select my child component and my parent component and right click and click on deploy source to org. As you can see, Salesforce CLI is running the commands to deploy these two components. Looks like both the components are successfully deployed to the Salesforce org. Now, let me log into the Salesforce org, add the parent component to a contact record page, and see how it displays. Go to browser and type in login.salesforce.com and provide your dev org credentials and click on the setup in the top right corner. Type Lightning App Builder in Quick Find and then just click on the Lightning App Builder link. And here, just click on New to create a new Lightning page. And just selecting record because I want to create a contact record page. And then clicking on Next. Provide some label for the record page. I'm just naming it as contact record page. The object is contact. Just clicking Next. Now let me just select the header and right sidebar and click Finish. Now on the left side I can see a search box. Let me just type my parent component. I can see the component under custom components. So let me just drag this and leave it in here, and then let me just save, and then I'll just click on activate. I'm just clicking on assign as org default and leaving it to default and clicking on next and clicking on save. Now let me go to the other tab and open any particular contact. So I'm clicking on app launcher and I'm going to contacts and I'm clicking on one of the contact records, and you can see the three paragraphs: hello from parent, which is coming from parent, and hello from child, coming from two references of the child component in the parent component. So now let's go back to the demo scenario. So we want to display hello from parent and hello from child in red in the first component and blue in the second component. So for doing that, now let me update the child component. So let me go to VS Code, and in the child component, let me just provide the style attribute to paragraph. Style is equals to, and I'll just provide a JavaScript property here. So I'll just leave it as style value and just save it. And let me go to the JavaScript of my child component and create a style JavaScript property. So I'm doing API and style value, style value, and provide a default value of color colon green. Now the parent components HTML, where I have the reference of child component. So in the first reference, let me provide style value is set to color colon red. And similarly, let me provide an attribute for the second child reference with style value color colon blue and just saving it. You can also notice that the JavaScript style value, which is in camel case, is mapped to the kebab case in the HTML. Also, let me just enclose the parent component within Lightning card so that I can see a better UI. Also notice that the auto format of code happens upon save, and that's because Prettier extension installed in the last episode. So I'm just saving this and then redeploying both child and parent components. So I'm clicking on deploy source to org. So it successfully ran. So let me just go back to the org again and refreshing the page. So you can see that the hello from parent is displayed in black. The first hello from child is displayed in red, and the second hello from child is displayed in blue. Now let's go back to the scenario diagram. So you can see that the hello from parent is displayed hello from child in red and hello from child in blue. Now let's understand why we had to create two different components and have one component embedded within the other component. So let's go back to the first slide. As I mentioned earlier, a Lightning Web Component works exactly like any other HTML element by rendering UI or exhibiting certain behavior depending on the parameters that we pass. So in our example, it is displaying the message in either red or in blue color. Thank you for watching this video. So in the next episode, I'm going to discuss about JavaScript properties like private properties, public properties, reactive properties, and all of that. Hope you like this video. See you soon.